I try so hard to not use the word infertility in my speech and in my content and purposely. It's not that I never say it. I'm not going to say I never say it.
Right.
But truthfully, it took me years to even talk about my own fertility journey because I never thought I had infertility, right? Like I
Mm.
had trouble getting pregnant. I didn't have infertility. At no point did I feel like I was infertile. I felt like my body was out of balance. It needed more support, like we were in the wrong direction, but I wasn't infertile. And like I think that mindset shift is really important to understand that you're not, no woman is infertile in my mind. It's just that
Mm.
your body needs more support or different support.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Pelvic Pulse podcast. Today I have Katherine Rohland. She is a licensed Chinese medicine practitioner with over 8 years of experience helping women naturally enhance their fertility and reproductive health. Alongside her clinical practice, she holds advanced training in Chinese medicine, gynecology, classical Chinese medicine, nutrition, and pediatric care. In her practice, she supports women holistically, my kind of gal, addressing your body, mind, and lifestyle so you can feel deeply guided on your path to pregnancy. Nothing brings her more joy than seeing women achieve their optimum potential in health so they can show up in the world as their best self mentally and physically and chase down their personal and professional dreams. Welcome to the show, Katherine.
Thank you for having me.
I'm yeah, really grateful for you to be here. I'm very excited to hear more about your personal journey, which I know you may have struggled with some infertility or quote unquote unexplained infertility. And that's definitely something I want to touch on today. So, would you mind sharing a little bit about that experience that was maybe what brought you into this world of
Yeah,
women's health?
definitely. Yeah, so my fertility story actually starts at 17, although it actually probably started earlier than that if we really want to get into it. But
Mm.
at 17, I started having irregular periods. I was put on birth control by my OBGYN. I actually was like really bullied into it. I didn't originally go on it when she told me to, and then I came back a year later and she told me that if I didn't go on birth control, I would end up with osteoporosis. And knowing very little about health as a 18, 17-year-old and just being taught that I should listen to my doctor, I was scared and I went on to birth control and I stayed on for the next 12-ish years. Mainly because I thought it was a solution, right? No one ever asked me about my diet, my lifestyle, my mindset. I was just told to take a pill and I stayed on it. I also had extremely painful periods, so that was another reason to stay on it because eventually I switched to the birth control pill where you'd only get your cycle once every 3 months to kind of mitigate the reoccurrence of pain, how frequently it was coming. All that being said, when I was 30 years old, me and my husband decided we wanted to start to try and have a family. I went off birth control, and to no surprise, I didn't get my period back right away. And it took me almost a year and a half to get my period back, and it took me almost 2 years to get pregnant. So that's the short version of my fertility journey and struggle.
Okay, yeah, wow. We could go down so many rabbit holes
Yeah,
just from
I
that
know.
particular story. I feel like what would you, if you were looking back knowing what you know now, what was going on with your body at 17 where you were having those irregular periods? Like what was your lifestyle
Yeah,
and
so
diet
I
and
think it was
like?
shaped much younger than 17. So
Okay.
I basically grew up with disordered eating and disordered body image views of myself. I grew up in the 1990s and this is very common.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I remember as early as middle school packing my own lunch and packing like a fat-free yogurt and baby carrots and thinking that was enough to sustain myself, right? So middle school is the earliest I remember, but I truthfully believe it started before that. So right there, I set myself up for failure when it comes to menstrual cycle, right? Because in order to have a healthy menstrual cycle, your body needs resources, it needs blood, it needs energy to flow your menstrual cycle. And if you're not eating enough, if you're not feeding your body enough resources, it's not going to have that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of it. I also became a vegetarian at age 8. No one else in my family was a vegetarian. I had a bad dream where I connected that a cow is a burger, and I immediately stopped eating meat. I was a very stubborn child. I mean, I'm still stubborn, but so and then not eating meat from a Chinese medicine perspective, meat and especially red meat is really important for vitality, for building blood in the body to support a menstrual cycle. So there's that aspect. I was undernourished, not eating the right foods. I got really strong into ballet and dance in middle school, so I was very athletic. I was doing a lot of movement, right? So overall, my body was depleted. That being said, at 12 or 13, I did get a normal menstrual cycle and it did stay normal for about, 4 to 5 years. But then what happened around age 17, I was just really stressed out. Like I was in a relationship that ended poorly, college coming up, just a lot of more stress on my plate. And I think that's really what like moved the needle. I also lost a lot of weight around that time. And truthfully, I don't believe I was at a point when I was underweight when I say I lost weight, but I think it was just that drastic switch in weight for my body that was already depleted, losing more resources that I needed.
Totally, totally. I can Yeah, that sounds like a lot was on your plate. Just, I feel like, gosh, could you imagine? I think about this too because I grew up in the 90s. I'm
Yeah.
like, I could not imagine how hard it is to be a young girl or teenager these days with like on top of everything that we dealt with. I couldn't imagine having like social media on top of it and like what these,
Yeah, for sure. On the other
anyways.
hand, though, like I have a daughter, she's 6, so not old enough yet to really hopefully understand this, but I just think the body image is different than it was in the 90s. I think, we now
Right.
have all size models. You see all size people out there. It's just very different. Like I see kids of all different sizes wearing all different type of clothing, and that just wasn't it for me growing up.
Totally. Like the heroin chic, like
Right, right. Heroin chic
look
and yes.
was crazy.
Right,
Oh, and yeah, I feel lucky now more women are coming to me in my practice and saying like they just want to be really strong. Like everyone's starting
yeah,
to move away even from just like your basic walking and yoga and they want to do Pilates and more strength training and
right.
maybe they're not getting straight into, your typical CrossFit, kind of stuff, but yeah,
Yeah, I feel
it's
like strong is the new skinny. Like strong is now
yeah.
sexy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay. So walk me through like what happened when you came off birth control. Were you doing anything specifically, or did you not know yet at that point that you needed to resource your body and it was going to take time? Like what was your experience like with that?
Yeah, so I went off birth control around age 30. I found Chinese medicine around age 28, and I was actually in acupuncture school when I decided to go off birth control.
Okay.
So you would think I'd have a better like background and mindset to it, but truly I didn't. I honestly thought I was taking care of my body at the time.
Mm.
I honestly thought I was doing things to support myself, and I guess maybe I had hoped that I would get my period back. I didn't know if I would be regular, but I assumed it would at least come.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So then what did you do? Like when you realized, okay, it's not coming. What?
Yeah. Yeah, so luckily, again, I was in school for Chinese medicine, so I did have a lot of resources, right? I saw different practitioners. I'm that person who did all the things. I often get a lot of patients, women coming to me and being like, I don't understand what else I could do because I've done all the things. And like, I kind of smile and laugh when I hear that because I'm like, I get it. I've been there and I know that. So I did all the things. I went to acupuncture, I did herbs, I did Reiki, I did Mayan abdominal massage, I did like weird energy healing, like literally everything under the sun that you could do. And I'm not going to say that stuff wasn't helpful, but in a lot of ways that was giving my power away, right?
Sure.
I was asking someone else to heal me when the truth is that I needed to heal myself. And the
Mm,
big things that I think really made a difference for me is one, the mental mindset behind my food and my body image, right? So at the time I went off birth control, I thought I was eating healthy. I was eating meat, I was eating cooked warm foods, I was eating like a great diet, but I was still restricting myself to some sense. And I don't think I like
mm,
fully realized it, right? Because when you've been in this mindset for, 20 years, it's really hard to change it. So I stopped restricting myself. I really just like ate whatever I wanted to, which wasn't always good things, but I knew I needed to gain weight. Like my body, I was underweight, I was malnourished. And so I knew I had to gain weight. It didn't feel great, but I did it because I know it's what my body needed.
mhm,
I completely slowed down my exercise. Before that, I was a runner. I was running marathons and marathons. And truthfully, my body was screaming at me that I shouldn't be doing it through various injuries, but I
mm,
never listened to it. But again, I knew I needed to slow down. So I drastically slowed down. I did change my diet to incorporate more animal products into my diet and just like more targeted at the foods that my body needed.
yeah.
And I think those are the things that made a huge difference. But what I think really made a difference, so it took me a year and a half to get my period back, right? And once I did, I was like, wow, this is great. I have my period back. I also feel like shit. right? Like I'd gain weight and I didn't feel great about it. I didn't like love how I felt in my body. I'd stopped doing all these activities that I loved to do because I knew they weren't supporting my body, right? Things like high intensity workouts and running and coffee dates and all of these things I stopped doing. I lost my joy. I felt like I lost myself. So I feel like the number one thing I did at that point was like, look, my goal is to bring a child into this world. And this child doesn't want to be brought into a world with an unhappy mother, right? We're manifesting the energy we put out there. So I was like, I have to make myself happy. And I was like, what is that like one thing that lights me up? And I had always loved dancing. I've always loved ballet. I stopped doing it in my mid 20s when I decided it wasn't going to be a career, which I think a lot of people do with hobbies. Just side note, and we all need hobbies. We all need passions, even if they're not making us money. So,
Agreed.
anyways, I
No, I think especially if they don't make you money, keep doing it.
especially, yes. So I bought a new pair of ballet shoes. I went back to dance class. I feel like I just got back to my joy. I got back more to myself. And then 3 months later, I got pregnant.
Fascinating. Okay, because you said it took you a year and a half to get your period back, and then you got pregnant 2 years later after coming off birth control. So
No, no.
there,
Yeah, it
so
took
there
me
was
a
a
year and a
six
half to
month.
get pregnant back. It took it almost 2 years. It didn't take exactly 2 years. So it took like a year and a half to get my period back. And then 3 months, in 3 months, I got pregnant after I got my
Oh,
period back.
okay, okay, okay. So had you
Yeah.
had three periods at that point that
Yeah,
were
two or
fairly
three,
regular?
and they were not regular. My cycle was not regular. I still had painful periods. Like things were not perfect, I'll be honest.
No, I
Uh,
love that. I think
but I got
that's
pregnant.
actually that's very expansive to hear because I think a
Yeah,
lot of women are kind of going into, say, this transition where they know they want to get pregnant and then they come off birth control and they want like a very particular flow. They want all this perfection
yeah,
essentially in their period and like a predictability so that they know exactly when to have sex.
right.
And I love actually that your period wasn't quote unquote perfect and that it was still like kind of irregular, but it was there. It was there.
Yeah, it was there. And I like to share that story because sometimes I feel like I'm part of the problem with women like wanting their cycle to be regular. I'll be completely honest about
No,
that
me
because
too.
in Chinese medicine, if I am working with someone for fertility, your menstrual cycle is your fifth vital sign. So that's the
Totally.
first place we're going to look. If something's off, we're going to want to adjust it. That being said, it doesn't mean you can't get pregnant without a perfect cycle, right? I have a patient who had PCOS, had like 60-day cycles and got pregnant. It's
Mm.
just when it's the right time, it's going to be the right time.
Yeah, totally. It is a really hard thing to quote unquote control, like the pregnancy outcome.
Right.
Um, yeah, just like some personal story for, you to know, and maybe you can speak on it or share your insights. But yeah, like I'm personally someone who was on birth control for 10 years, hormonal, came off of it because I was just like I read Woman Code by
Yeah.
Lisa Vitti. Changed my life. Like it really changed the course of even my career. It was kind of all simultaneously happening when I was getting into pelvic PT and, prenatal yoga and teaching all of that. And like period talks were just really so fun for me after that. Like I ended up basically like transitioning myself off of hormonal birth control by cycle syncing beforehand for a couple of months. And then I got my period back, like quote unquote, 2 days late
Yeah.
and a month later. And it's been regular ever since. And I've had, my ups and downs with it, like where, April 2020 was very brown blood and
Right.
like, other stressful moments where the blood wasn't, your bright cherry red, um, which is just indicative, like you're saying, it's a fifth vital sign. It was indicative of all the other life things that were happening for me with me. And here I am now. I'm about to be 36 in over a month, but I have never been pregnant. I would love to be pregnant one day. And I'm grateful that my period has been regular. It's been fluctuating ever since I turned 35, like shorter months,
Sure.
longer months, but not crazy. Like 20, I think like 25 days is kind of on the shorter end, and then 28 days is my higher end. So
Yeah.
nothing nuts. I still can like see when I'm ovulating and all that. I just got done reading not too long ago, Spirit Babies.
Yeah. Great book.
Great book. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I have granted, okay, so I'm 35. I have a lot of friends that are wanting to conceive and having a hard time and or are going through IVF journeys. I've had family members go through like all the kinds of fertility journeys and clients as well who some of them are getting pregnant and some of them aren't. And some of them, yeah, it's incredibly uh there's an incredible variety of
Yes.
experiences.
Yeah.
But I think the one thing that is trending, and we mentioned it at the beginning, but like this unexplained infertility
Yeah.
is, yeah, obviously everyone kind of feels it's on the rise, but is it because like we're now all able to talk about it or you know what I mean? I'm just so
Yeah.
curious what your take is on that because I mean, for so long, women have been bucketed into, different diagnoses and or different, yeah, just different medical perspectives. And it's
Yeah.
really frustrating because we haven't, number one, been studied as well as the men have. And there's so many other aspects of like medical history that probably is what keeps us where we are right now.
Right.
But it's all kind of coming to the surface as if, maybe we are the problem, but we're not. Like,
We're
what's
not the
going on?
problem.
Explain.
Yeah. So I see unexplained infertility as the new IBS, right? Like the diagnosis that 10 years ago that if you had stomach pains, you had IBS, which
Yeah.
literally stands for I don't know what else it is. Western medicine loves to diagnose. I truly hate Western medicine diagnosis. I'm going to be completely upfront about you. And I know that's like a lot of people, a lot of women find diagnoses to be empowering.
Hmm.
I find them quite the opposite because they leave you with nothing, right? So you have PCOS. What does that mean? Like literally, what does that mean? And
Right.
that's why I love Chinese medicine, because in Chinese medicine, our diagnosis is actually means something, right? So
Mm.
let's say you have PCOS and that's an issue of your spleen Qi not being supported properly. Then we'll understand why it's not being supported properly, and then we'll support your body so it can be supported properly, right? There's like a pathway to a solution. That being said, unexplained infertility, I truly don't even know what it means anymore because I have women come to me and tell me they've been diagnosed with unexplained infertility, but they have a short luteal phase, or they have fibroids, or they have PCOS or endometriosis, or they have extremely painful periods, or they have a very long follicular phase, or they're only bleeding for 1 day, right? These are all signs that something is out of balance in your body that is pointing to the reason that you're struggling to get pregnant. So, unexplained infertility, from my standpoint, means we can't give you a pill to fix it.
Mm. Hmm. Yeah. I mean, if we go back to the birth control story that you shared, and then like my story with birth control was just that I wanted to be on it to protect myself from
Yeah,
pregnancy, right? Like
absolutely.
for
Yeah,
its actual use, like,
yeah,
versus like a band-aid approach to fixing quote unquote your period.
right.
Yeah, there's no pill for this. You're exactly right. But yeah, how frustrating is it that I've actually heard people like my clients have shared stories where they literally tell their doctor that they want to get pregnant and their periods are irregular and their doctors prescribe birth control.
Yeah, so that was actually me. That's the part I missed of my story, is that when I did go to an endocrinologist after 6 months of not getting my period to just understand why,
Hmm.
right? I had slightly low estrogen. She didn't like really think it was a big enough deal to cause a problem, but that I should go back on birth control to quote unquote fix it. And that's when I was like, I'm done with doctors. Like I'm done with Western medicine. This is not for me.
Like, wait, what? Did you tell her? Like, did you tell your doctor that that didn't make any sense?
Yes, of course. I mean, I think a little bit like I just walked away. Like I knew it was
Sure.
a conversation worth having at that point.
Right, right. Yeah. They I feel like it sucks because there are some doctors who mean really, really well.
Yes.
Like there are some
Yes, absolutely.
amazing doctors, just like there's, some amazing acupuncturists or
Right.
Chinese medicine doctors and same with PTs. Um, but then there are some ones that just like don't make a lot of sense.
Right.
And there's no arguing
Sadly.
with them. Like there's
No.
no convincing them. So, okay. Can you give the listener, like you listed out some things that really helped
Yeah,
you, which I think are huge, and maybe you want to name them again,
sure.
because there are probably so many women out there that are experiencing this quote unquote unexplained infertility, and maybe they don't even know to look at their periods yet. But also, I know a lot of women who are like highly researched and like they they are invested in figuring themselves out. And I
Yeah.
love that about these women. So maybe they already have a lot of data. Like they know that their luteal phase is too short. Like they know that progesterone is low and they can't sustain a pregnancy. Maybe they've gotten pregnant, but then yeah, it that miscarries. Like, and I hate the phrase also like, oh, she lost it. It's like, no, she didn't. I don't know. There's like an inherent blame, like in a way,
Yeah.
in a weird way, put
Yeah.
in that languaging. So I don't love saying that. But yeah, like what would be your top ways of helping these women figure this out and or like
Yeah.
I mean there are the signs and then there are things you can do about it, right? So
Sure.
yeah.
So the things you always need to look at are diet, lifestyle, mindset, and balancing your yin yang energy, which I'll explain. And that goes back to lifestyle. But in Chinese medicine, we have yin energy and we have yang energy. Yin is nighttime energy. It's the cooling energy of our body. It's the grounding energy of our body. It's what helps us go to sleep and rest and keeps us calm and grounded.
Mm.
Then we have the yang energy, which is everything else. Yang energy, it's warming, it's moving, it's activity, it's daytime, it's work, it's everything, right? So we ideally need a balance of these two energies, which does not mean you should be sleeping for 12 hours a night, but it also doesn't mean that you should be spending your entire day in this high stress state. And that's what I see a lot of is women are spending most of their day in this high stress state and don't even realize it. I get a lot of women coming to me and they're like, I don't understand. Like, I'm not stressed out. I feel fine, but their body's in this like low level of stress constantly, which I was also that person. So I understand it. It took me a long time to realize that. Truthfully, I don't think I realized it until I was out of it even.
Mm.
Um, but it's a sense of needing to control things, not being able to sit still, always saying yes and taking on more work, right? Working 12 hours a day because you feel like you have to, not setting boundaries, right? All of these things are very depleting on your body. So it's really coming back to balancing that yin yang energy. Um, but like I mentioned, we need to look at everything that's going on in your life because everything can either support or hinder your fertility. And we want to make sure that everything you're doing is going towards supporting your fertility. So in Chinese medicine, when I'm talking about fertility, it really comes down to your body feeling safe to get pregnant, which means your body will feel safe to get pregnant when it has enough energy and resources to do so. So our body's number one job is always to keep us safe and healthy. And so it feels like good, like it feels strong in that ability, and then you have extra energy left over, then it will feel safe to get pregnant and grow another human being. But often, I mean, 100% of the times of what I see is that your body doesn't have enough resources to sustain another human being. Like at the end of the day, if we really want to simplify it, that's what it comes down to. And then we want to look at why your body doesn't have enough resources. So,
When you say resources, can you
yeah.
be super explicit? Because
Mhm.
from your story, what I'm
Yeah.
picking up is like the actual nutrients, like the building
Yeah.
blocks for your own body. But I also can see where you could take it into,
Okay.
yeah, like all the other things.
Yeah, so it really is everything. But in Chinese
Yeah.
medicine, the main resources are blood. So physical blood in your body. Your body needs enough blood to be able to double in blood volume when you get pregnant, right? Biologically, our body needs to double in blood volume to support the growing fetus. And if your body doesn't have the blood like in storage, it's just not going to allow that to happen, right? Because it's not safe. Your body needs enough yin. In Chinese medicine, yin is daytime, it's night, it's rest time. It's also thick fluids in our body. So yin is a tangible substance in our body. And so estrogen and progesterone, all of these are sex hormones, are thick fluids. So our body needs enough sex hormones, thick fluids, yin to support a pregnancy. Our body needs chi, which, obviously not in an English word, but softly translated to energy, right? Like your body just needs enough energy to grow another human being. The recent research says that being pregnant is like running a marathon every day, right? And I don't know if I truly felt like that when I was pregnant, but it's just an exaggeration to let you know that it takes a lot of energy to get pregnant and your body needs that energy. And lastly, we need enough yang energy, which is the warming, moving energy in our body. But it's that yang energy that really supports our luteal phase and the rising of our basal body temperature and the increase of progesterone in the body. So
Mm.
to summarize it, we need blood, we need yin, we need yang, and we need qi.
Okay, I love that. Yeah, because I was almost thinking like literally nutrients like food.
I mean, yes,
And
yeah,
yeah, right? Like and those that would help with. building all of those things.
Right. So nutrients are the building blocks, right?
Right.
We need to feed our body the food. We need a strong spleen energy. The energy of our spleen is responsible for digesting and absorbing our food, so that then the food that we eat, we're digesting and absorbing those nutrients, and then turning it into these resources that I just mentioned.
Yeah, gotcha. Would you say also like resources as like financial stability, all the other like
Yeah, when
outside
I'm talking
things?
about resources, those are not specifically what I'm talking about,
Okay.
but not feeling stable and comfortable in those resources will deplete your physical resources.
Right. Right.
Does that
Okay.
make sense to you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, okay. And then beyond that, what else can a woman do? Like
Yeah.
what else
So
is she looking at?
the first place you always want to look at and like just take out a journal, a piece of paper, what is going on in my body? Right? Everything in your body, any symptom, any feeling in your body is your body trying to communicate to you, right? So obviously symptoms related to your menstrual cycle, short luteal phase, long luteal phase, short follicular phase, long follicular phase, painful periods, PMS symptoms, like all of this you want to write down. But then anything else going on in your body, right? Skin issues, hair falling out, dry throat, headaches, gas, bloating, constipation, knee pain. Again, like literally anything that's going on in your body that's a discomfort that is not normal. And it's
Mhm.
important to understand like common things are not normal, right? A painful period is common. It is not normal. Back pain is common. It is not normal. Eczema is common. It is not normal, right? Write all these things down because this is your body communicating to you. And, as my job as a practitioner to understand how it's communicating to you, it's not necessarily your job, but it is your job to listen and to stop and be like, wait, something is off. And that's the first place you're going to want to start because your fertility is an accumulation of your overall health. So by
Mhm.
taking a look at your overall health, that's the first place to start to understand your fertility.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. What would you say to a woman, because this is also the trend these days, to a woman like me, for example, um, like feel free to use me as a an
Sure.
example to not
Yeah.
roast, but you can lovingly guide if you want. Like I can be your case study. But like
Sure.
what if, for example, she's in her mid to late 30s and she's trying to get pregnant and she can't? Like she's looking at all these things, she knows certain things about herself, but what if she is, say, very regular, she can see when she ovulates, she can see um when she has her period, obviously, and it's not painful. Like there's nothing like that necessarily. What else is she looking at, or what else can she do to help support this conception?
Yeah, you mean absolutely no physical symptoms in the body.
I mean, maybe there are some physical symptoms, but
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, yeah, for
Yeah.
example, like what besides the physical, what else is she addressing?
Yeah. So mindset, and when I talk about symptoms, I mean mindset also, right? So
Yeah,
stress, anxiety, worry, fear, those are symptoms
of
too.
course, of course.
Yeah, I mean, in Chinese medicine, chapter one of the Suan, which is an ancient Chinese medicine text, tells us that all illness starts in the mind, right? And that
Mm,
doesn't mean that we make up our illness. It means that our illness stems from our thoughts and our beliefs, right? Our thoughts create our beliefs, create our emotions, create the way we live in the world, create our perception of our reality, right? We really create it all in our head. So we want to look at what our mind is thinking, right? Is there stress? Is there anxiety? Is there worry? Is there fear? And if there is, understanding where that is coming from, right? It's not about breath work and breathing in a way you're doing yoga or exercise to stop the stress. It's not about taking a pill really to stop the anxiety. It's about understanding why that anxiety is coming up. And then when we understand that, that's something you can work with, right? We can't work with an emotion, but we can work with a thought. And
mhm.
it's really reprogramming and rewiring that thought in our mind. Um, that's one way to start. The other, manifestation is a big part of fertility. I almost hate saying this sometimes. I don't know. I hate the word manifestation. I don't know why. I use it myself and I still don't like it.
Yeah,
Um,
I hear you. I hear you.
But it's really just listening to your intuition and believing that it's meant to be for you. And this is one of the biggest issues I work with in my practice is women coming to me already believing it can't happen for them. And something cannot happen for you if you don't believe it can, right?
I feel like there's a trend in a way, like, hashtagging obviously whatever you're trying to get to, have it be popping up in front of the right people. But a hashtag I see kind of often besides fertility journey is infertility journey.
Hmm.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, hang on a second. Like, aren't you trying to get pregnant? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's my judgy little person in the back, but
No,
also
I think
that
that's a
makes
great
sense,
thought. Yeah.
right? Like,
So,
let's not hashtag infertility journey and maybe take a look at that.
yeah.
We're taking a quick break from my conversation with Katherine so that I could share with you something pretty magical. Uh, Later this week, in 2 days, as soon as this episode goes live, 2 days, I will be getting married. And to celebrate wedding week, I really do want to lean into this joy that Katherine is alluding to and that I'm feeling into, which stems from knowing my body and being able to work with my body. The practices that I have taken and learned and incorporated, taken steps back from, but then always come back to are life changing. And I wish every woman knew about cycle syncing and about their pelvic floor and about their pleasure and how accessing that also can help you with your fertility. It's one of the magical secrets, I think, to getting pregnant that not a lot of women lean into. It's always very like science-based and or forceful and focused. And while that can be really great in having discipline and focus, what about the parts of surrender? And I think to learn that, you have to learn about your own cyclical nature. You have to learn about your own energetic flow. What does that actually look like in your day to day basis? And because I'm getting married, I am celebrating with this, again, overflow of joy and love. I want to gift you 30% off any of my online offerings. The 30% off, if you're listening to it today, is available just for today. And then as we get closer to the wedding day, like tomorrow, Thursday, it'll be 20% off. And then Friday, it'll be 10% off. And then it'll be back to regular prices on Saturday. So feel free to take action now or wait. It doesn't matter to me, but it does matter to me that you take your body and your self knowing into your routines. It matters that you incorporate this and all of your pelvic health into your life. It matters to me that you include your pelvic floor, your pussy energy into your life because I think it makes a difference in everything else that you do. That is not an exaggeration. That is quite literally what I say on a day to day basis. So please take advantage of this. All of the links and all the codes are listed out in the show notes. Take a peek at what's available. I've brought back old offerings that I don't know why I took them away. They are amazing. Wands 101, Yoni Eggs 101, including my vaginal alchemy signature course. All of this will be available to you at a discount to celebrate the love that James and I have. And now back to the episode.
I try so hard to not use the word infertility in my speech and in my content, and purposely. It's not that I never say it. I'm not going to say I never say it.
Right.
But truthfully, it took me years to even talk about my own fertility journey because I never thought I had infertility, right? Like I
Mm.
had trouble getting pregnant. I didn't have infertility. At no point did I feel like I was infertile. I felt like my body was out of balance. It needed more support, like we were in the wrong direction, but I wasn't infertile. And like I think that mindset shift is really important to understand that you're not, no woman is infertile in my mind. It's just that
Mm.
your body needs more support or different support.
Right, 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 right. I, yeah, I feel that.
And infertility is so heavy, right? It's like your body can't do what it's meant to do. It's this place of shame. Like it's such a bad word. We say the F word is bad. I think it's the I word that's bad.
Yeah, the I word. Oh my gosh, that is too funny. Yeah, I know. It's, I mean, I don't want it to be one of these like other taboo topics, right?
Sure.
For people like they're experiencing infertility,
Right.
like is maybe another way to say it that doesn't even necessarily resonate with me either.
I just say
But
you're having trouble getting pregnant, right? Like, because that's
yeah,
what it is.
yeah, exactly. Like I like that a lot more. I like that
Yeah,
a
or
lot
it's
more.
not happening exactly when you want it to, right? And that's what I see a
Right.
lot too, is we have these timelines and these preconceived notions of what should be happening, and that sets our mindset up for failure also because there's always a third party involved in fertility. We have the man, we have the woman, and we have the spirit, and we don't control the spirit.
Right. Totally. Read Spirit Babies if you're unsure or unclear about that. That will make it hyper clear and potentially take off a lot of pressure on you and a
Yes.
partner. Yeah, no, that is absolutely fair. And I just totally had a thought and it slipped my mind. Oh, I was gonna say that I feel like one big piece of the journey, even, in my practice, once we are pregnant and women are quote unquote preparing for childbirth and for motherhood, and there's almost honestly nothing that actually prepares you. Um, you can only do so much, right? In getting your mind, your body on board, but you kind of just have to like surrender. Like
Yeah.
literally, I think the game of life, like the game of conception and of birth and motherhood even is a game of trust and surrender.
Yeah.
And like right, like there's definitely what you were saying earlier where you were seeing all these practitioners like there's giving your power away and it's like I get that and I get where there's a balance for sure of like empowering yourself enough to do what you need to do, right? Take care of yourself, love yourself.
Right.
And sometimes like life is just going to happen the way it happens. And you have
Yeah.
to trust that. Like you have to also trust that you've done all that you can, right?
I
And
think
some people don't go all the way there sometimes.
yeah, often we don't because we're not taught to surrender, right? Like that's a new vibe. That's not the vibe of like being the best overachieving, being the CEO at work. So, and which is a lot of what I see in my practice, which is wonderful, but
Well,
also
because you're also in Manhattan and in
also
New
in
York.
Manhattan. But
Uh,
I work with women all over the world, and it seems
true.
to be a similar pattern.
Hmm.
Um, but what was I going to say? Oh, right, the energy of surrendering. Again, like not a popular opinion, but I do feel like that women who struggle to get pregnant and go through a journey are better prepared to be parents in a lot of ways because they've already learned this energy of surrender, of letting go of control. And being a parent is really about letting go of control. If you try to control everything that your child does, like you're setting yourself up for failure.
I'm just laughing because we spent some time last night with like my fiance's. So funny because we're not going to be fiancés for much longer. But we spent time with his essentially like nieces and nephew,
Yeah.
and one's about to turn 10, the other one's about to turn 8, the other one's 5, or no, he's 6. And gosh, the older they grow, the more I'm like, dang, this is full like surrender and trust, like
Yeah.
that they're doing all the things that they need to be doing. And you can only control them so much until they like
Right.
literally are old enough and feel brave enough to talk back. You're like, wait, what?
Which is like two, to be clear.
I know, right? That happens way
One
earlier.
and a half for my daughter.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I'm so curious, like what your personal experience was like with the second pregnancy.
Yes.
Yeah, like your journey into motherhood. Like, I mean, we can talk about conception all day, but like you're saying, it is also setting you up potentially for a really beautiful experience in parenthood. Like, what was that like for you?
Yeah. So it took me 2 months to get pregnant with my second child. We got pregnant on the second time trying.
How long
And
did you guys wait?
uh,
Or,
17 months until we started trying, 17 or 18 months. And truly, it was just because I thought it would take longer.
mm,
Um, so I started preparing my body ahead of time. So I gave birth. I did not fully take care of myself postpartum, right? It's
mm,
really hard. It was my first child. I was 32 and in New York City, none of my friends really had kids. 32 is early in New York City, not the rest of the world. So I didn't have a good picture of what motherhood was like. And so it was really hard for me. It was hard for me readjusting to the new norm, to not getting sleep. My son didn't sleep very well, right? So
mm,
all this to say, I did not take care of my body very well. And then, probably when he was about a year old, things started to adjust more and I started to come back to myself. And that's when I really started preparing my body because I knew that we wanted to have a second child. And so I knew we needed to prepare ahead of time. And so then I stopped breastfeeding around 16 months. he was already done for the most part. Like it was more a pacifier. And so, and then, yeah, in 17 months, we started trying. I didn't get pregnant the first month. The second month, I almost thought we missed our window because I was too tired to have sex to conceive, but we had sex once and we got pregnant. And, there it is. I have two children now.
How was the second pregnancy and postpartum for that one?
Yeah, it was different. In a lot of ways, it was easier. In a lot of ways, it was harder. So with my son, I was my first child, I was really nauseous the majority of my pregnancy. Um, so that part was hard. And then with my daughter, I wasn't as nauseous, which then also makes you nervous because
Mm,
you'll find these symptoms, they suck, but they're also like a sign of a strong pregnancy in some ways for some women, not for everyone. So
mm,
wasn't very nauseous. Had some fatigue, but not as tired as I was with my son. It was harder because I had to take care of a toddler.
mm,
That was like the biggest issue. And then around 32 weeks, she was breech, which was very stressful for me.
mm,
As someone who is extremely stubborn and was absolutely going to have a vaginal birth no matter what, that was really stressful for me. So I was, Googling how to have a breech birth and like trying to find midwives to support that.
yeah.
But she was not turning. I did all the things and she was not flipping. And then at 38 weeks, we had a midwife just gently flip her, which is something you can go into a hospital and do. It's just a lot more invasive. This was like literally 5 minutes and I felt nothing.
Mm,
And then both of my kids were born very quickly. But yeah,
wow. Okay, so both were
yeah.
vaginal in the end?
Both were vaginal, 39 weeks, natural births.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. So wild.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, as someone who is like so athletic, and just a mover, it sounds like. I'm just curious now from a PT
Yeah.
perspective, but what was that transition like? I mean, you said with your first, it was hard to take care of yourself, which I'm assuming also means like getting your body to move a little bit. But again, then when you're in your second pregnancy and then also then in the early days postpartum you're caring for a toddler, I'm assuming he's
Yeah.
just on the move and you're kind of almost
Yeah.
forced to keep up with him. But yeah, you want to talk
The
me through that, like?
The physical aspect of postpartum was really hard for me mentally with both of them. So
Okay,
my son
interesting.
was born in 5 hours. It was really quick, extremely painful birth because he was like facing the wrong way.
Mm,
Um, I think they call it like back
back
labor.
yep.
Yeah, horrible. I didn't come, but it was natural. I did come quickly. And so like I kind of felt like I was good to go. I didn't have any scars, I didn't have any tearing, like everything like for the most part was fine. And so I pushed myself too soon, just meaning walking for the most part. And so like one day, like he was, 5 days old, I went for a long walk and I was like, oh shit, like my body can't do this, right? And that was really hard for me as someone who loved exercise and walking and like I love that feeling. It was really hard. So it was really slow. I definitely did not get back into exercise after 6 weeks, as doctors will recommend that you can. I was walking,
Yeah.
but like you still have a baby that you're taking care of, right? It's not like all of a sudden you give birth and like woohoo, you still have a baby. I was breastfeeding. That's extremely depleting and draining on our body, right? In
Mm.
Chinese medicine, breast milk is equal to blood. So
Mm.
when you're breastfeeding, you're losing blood in your body. So it took me a while. I did get back. I feel like I got back into like fitness like when he was like a year old, maybe, but still not hardcore. I never got back to running, and I don't regret that. More
Mm.
just like weightlifting, Pilates, things like that.
Yeah.
And then after my daughter was born, like honestly, it took me like 3 years to really feel like I had my body back.
Interesting, interesting. And when you say that, do you mean like, obviously it's not like you're feeling what you felt like when you didn't have kids, but
No.
yeah, like when you say that, do you mean like you had the energy, you had the resources to resume the activities that brought you joy?
Yes, I
Okay.
started to try, I always tried earlier. I tried sooner and I, would work out like once and then I would stop. And I feel like it took 3 years to really get back into a routine where I felt physically and mentally stable and my body had the energy and I had the time and the space to really commit to it. Because,
Yeah,
just working out once a week isn't really doing much in terms of consistency.
totally, totally. I try to help my moms reframe. that, especially in the first year postpartum or beyond, and sometimes it takes them a year to finally like start wrapping their heads around, depending on their birth experience, right? Wrapping their heads around the fact that even though they're cleared, they're not going to jump straight into the thing that they were doing before at the same
Right.
capacity as they were before. Obviously, hopefully that makes sense to people. But instead of even doing like the once a day or even like once a week 1 hour workout, let's try finding more snack like things versus
Yeah.
like a whole meal. Like,
Yes.
let's not stuff ourselves. Let's try to find some snacks in between our days, in between these moments of more stillness. And um, we can always titrate. Like, we can titrate
Right.
more in and titrate
Yeah.
down if need be.
That's
But
beautiful advice. Also, like your schedule and your timing's different,
oh,
right?
yeah.
When working out before it was a luxury, it's like a double luxury when you have kids.
Mhm.
So,
Totally. Yeah. I love it like helping them figure out what does that formula for them look like? What does that day look like? And yeah, sometimes it's just these like minor tweaks if they can apply it to the way that they are moving in bed versus like moving around the house versus if they are walking with a baby strapped to them or in a stroller or whatever. Like if they're carrying a dog or like walking a dog, that's another whatever. All the
yeah.
things, all the
Well, I
factors
mean,
that you can
weighted vets
consider.
are like all the rage now for anyone over 30, so just strap a child to you.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, one of those other phrases I say is like the way that you progress is going to look very similar timeline wise to the way that your child starts to progress in their ability to walk and run. Like
Yeah,
it doesn't need to be 6 weeks before you're able to go back to all the things again.
right.
It's going to take some time.
Definitely.
You got to learn how to carry your head first.
Right, exactly.
It's so funny. Um, okay. I am wondering if there are any other things that you haven't mentioned that you like really just want women to know about anything, like whether that is their physical well-being or their mental well-being in order to be able to conceive and or have the pregnancy and birth and parenthood journey of their dreams. Actually, I would also love for you to talk a little bit more about this maybe um this experience of having two kids and then also having your own practice. Maybe
Yeah.
we start with that one and then we can go to the
Okay,
wrapping up.
sure. Yeah, it's hard. I got pregnant when I was in my final year of grad school, and just like to go back to that for a second. We talked about timing and time being the spirit, but truthfully, I think babies come at exactly the right time. So I started trying to get pregnant with my son, I guess like my first or second year of grad school was a 3-year program. And I, towards the end of my fertility journey before I got pregnant, I had it in my mind, I was like, shit, like I have to take board exams, which are not easy. And at the time, you could take them earlier. So you graduate in May, and I took them in December and January. I was like, look, I'm just gonna like get these out of the way so I don't have any other stressful events in my way, right? I mean, yes, we could formulate a way to study without it being stressful, but like instead of going there, let's just get it out of the way. So I did that, and I kind of also knew like right after that happened that I would get pregnant, and I did. I took my board exams in December and January, and I got pregnant in February. Um,
Wow.
and again, like I think that was the right time. Yes, I could have been pregnant before that, and I would have might have, and I was really nauseous with my son, so we could kind of assume I'd be really nauseous while in school, while studying for my board exams. Like that would have been really hard, and who knows how far that would have set me back also. Like I might have not taken my board exams until he was 3 years old or anything like that. So babies do come in exactly the right time, and we don't always know what that is until they're here. I believe that.
Yeah. Thanks for
That being
sharing that.
said, it was hard. Like I was just starting my practice when he was born. So there's this push and pull of wanting to get back to my old self and wanting to work and then also wanting to be with him. I was lucky that I work for myself, so there's flexibility within that. So I went back to work like 1 or 2 days a week, essentially when he was, honestly, I went back just too soon. I think he was probably like a month or 2 months old. And then I was like, no, it's too soon. And so I paused. And then I went back. I got a job at like a corporate office. It's called Crossover Health. I honestly don't know if it still exists, but it was a medical service for people that work at like NBC and a couple other big companies in New York City. Um, And I did that for, a few months. I didn't love the hours. And I quit that because I knew I wanted to get pregnant with my daughter. And I knew it just wasn't conducive to like me feeling best in my body. I was working, I think like 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. 2 days a week.
Ooh.
And that was just rough. In some ways, it was good for like my toddler because I got to spend, like
All
7 a.m.
day.
3 p.m. with him. But
Yeah.
in terms of wanting to get pregnant and really grow my family, it just didn't feel right to me. And that's when I got back into my individual practice. My daughter was born in March 2020, so that was naturally paused then, a natural maternity leave, I guess you could say.
Wow. That
Yeah,
timing is kind of immaculate. But I know
yeah,
also for some of my clients who are also they were living in New York at the time and had their babies then, um, like yeah, there's like a caked in internal phase, right, for those early
sure.
stages of postpartum, but I think it was like really isolating for a lot of them too. Was that your experience?
Extremely isolating. And I had a toddler. I think if I didn't have a toddler, my experience would have been a lot different. But I had a 2-year-old, 2.5-year-old who loved people, who loved friends, who didn't understand why he couldn't go to the playground and why he couldn't see his friends and why he couldn't see his grandparents. And like truthfully, I couldn't understand either. So it wasn't an easy time. Like it was definitely a stressful time. I wish in retrospect, I would have done it again and it would have been obviously less stressful. But at the time, like we didn't know how long it would last. Like there was no, right, which causes more stress and anxiety.
Right. The
Um,
unknown. Oh my
yeah, none.
gosh.
And truthfully, I don't feel like I really prioritized my business until both of my kids were in school. And
Mm.
in New York City, kids go to school fairly early. So when my daughter was like 3 and was in quote unquote school,
Yeah.
full time is when when I feel like I really dove more into my practice and my business, and I don't regret that at all because you don't get the younger years back, and I'm fortunate that I got to spend that time with them.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that perspective and yeah, for sharing your experience. I know that's yeah.
Yeah,
Something that's always curious about me too. Like I don't know, I feel like a lot of moms don't necessarily know maybe what they're gonna do. And you kind
yeah,
of can't make that decision until, like you're saying, like till it happens almost.
yeah,
And you get to I appreciate you sharing like kind of the like bouncing into work and then being like,
yeah.
oh, just kidding. And then let's try this
I think
one.
I did a lot of back and forth because I love what I do, so I feel like my
Right.
heart and my spirit wanted to do it, but it's like I just wasn't ready for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I can totally appreciate that. Yeah, my heart and soul is like with my work, and I can't imagine at some point like having a baby here. Like I literally have my dog right like behind me right now.
Oh, I love that.
She's been there this entire time.
Yeah,
But I can imagine having like a baby on me and maybe having to pause to readjust or something like that and still be able to do some impactful work. But
yeah,
also if you're trying to see people or talk to people one on one for their own experience, it's like I don't want to be, feeling distracted.
right, right.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, okay. All right, let's go back to that other question that I had.
Okay. Yeah.
What, if anything, is there any like last nugget of wisdom or um,
Yeah.
even encouragement? I feel like maybe there's some encouragement that needs to be shared um, beyond what you already have.
Yeah, so if you take nothing else away from listening to me on talk about anything, it's that your body wants to procreate, right? Biologically, our bodies want to conceive and they want to procreate. Otherwise, we would not have a human race. And so you can get pregnant. You absolutely can get pregnant. Your body just might need different support. And if you're like me, one of those women who thought they've done all the things, no, there's always more, which I know that can seem daunting to a lot of people because when you've been doing so much, you're like, great, fuck, I have to do more. But the more doesn't need to be hard. Sometimes it's just making really small intentional changes, right? I had a patient who was again like thought they did all the things and we made really small adjustments in her diet, eating warm foods, reducing some things like onion and garlic and spicy foods and coffee, and like changing her workouts, making adjustments at work, and she got pregnant like in 4 months after spending a year of doing all the things, right? So sometimes the adjustments they just need to be really fine-tuned adjustments, like in physical therapy, fine motor skills, right? So it
Yeah.
doesn't need to be big things, but it's really making sure they're targeted and right for you.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think the overhaul can feel really overwhelming for women, and
Yeah.
it might not even need to be like that. So I'm grateful for that reminder
Yeah.
that it could just be literally the smallest seemingly of tweaks that make all the difference.
Yes.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. Um, it makes me fear that I'll have to give up my coffee dates one day.
You might, but they could turn into tea dates, matcha dates.
100%, 100%. Yes, yes. No, it's more of a ritual. Like, oh, it's such
I
a
know.
ritual. Yeah, I know you now.
Yes.
It'll be worth the sacrifice for the time being.
Exactly. And I do, that's another thing. I do get a lot of pushback from women with the
Oh,
things I tell them, like, oh, you're making me give up like one other thing. And it's like, well, what are you giving it up for? What would you rather, your cup of coffee or your baby, right? What would you rather to go for the run or have a newborn baby? Like, and it's really adjusting your mindset to what's important to you.
totally. I already gave up. I mean, I didn't give up necessarily because I didn't feel like I really needed it or wanted
Yeah.
it even all the time, but like it's been so easy to go sober. Like I've been sober
Yeah.
since May of last year
Oh,
or
wow.
earlier.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it hasn't honestly, it hasn't been that hard. It's more hard in like the social scenarios, I'd say, but which is pretty rare for me because I am a little bit of a homebody. But
Same.
in any case, it's like, yeah, I have to think about it like that for sure. And I think it would be worth it to give up the coffee just for the time being, if need
Yeah.
be. We'll
And I
see.
also say whenever there's resistance to giving something up, whether it's coffee or like anything, is to look at what is the resistance coming from, right? What are you getting from that that you feel like you're not getting in other aspects of your life? And how can you change that?
Hmm.
Right? Because, a lot of people drink coffee because it gives them energy and it brings them joy, right?
Hmm.
So, well, rest more, do more activities that you love, right? These are other ways to replace energy and joy.
I love that. Thanks for that reframe.
Yeah.
Okay, Catherine, where can everyone find you? Where do you want them to go to learn more about you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Katherine_Roland. Same with TikTok, or my website is manhattanmedicinewoman.com.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here. I'm super appreciative of you sharing your story and yeah, sharing your wisdom with the world.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This has been a really wonderful conversation.
Thanks. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening and for placing your finger on the pelvic pulse. I'm Brittney Ellers. The music for this podcast was created by Just Tech, and I'm grateful you're here breathing this conversation in with me. You're invited to stay connected by following the show on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen, and by sharing it with someone you love. Beyond the podcast, there are 2 free spaces waiting for you: the Arousal Anatomy Adventure and my private podcast, The Pool of Presence, both designed to support you in coming back into your body and listening to what's real right now. You'll find everything linked in the show notes. Let your curiosity lead you and enter wherever you feel drawn. It's an honor to walk alongside you.